Netflix's The Lincoln Lawyer is known for its legal realism, properly representing many aspects of the law and court cases while bending others for dramatic purposes. Based on the books by Michael Connelly, the show follows a defense attorney named Mickey Haller who is known for two things. 1. He works out of the back of his Lincoln cars, and 2. He almost always gets clients off. Like every great courtroom drama, The Lincoln Lawyer takes creative liberties with the legal aspects, favoring storytelling over 100% accuracy. Despite how TV shows and movies present it, the law and court cases can be very slow, dull, and pedantic. However, The Lincoln Lawyer finds a way to balance actual elements of the legal profession with exciting storytelling. From Andy's cruise waiver to trials in absentia, the writers put careful attention into representing the judicial system correctly. 7. First-degree murder with special circumstances holds a different bail than other types of murder. Lisa Trammell was eligible for bail, but Julian Larcos wasn't. Julian sits with the other inmates in The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3 Episode 2. In The Lincoln Lawyer Season 2, Lisa Trammell qualifies for bail, but she decides to stay in prison because she's unwilling to sell her restaurant to pay the amount. However, Julian Larcos is stuck in jail until the trial without the option of bail in The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3. These two have different experiences because Julian has a special circumstance enhancer to his charge. Multiple special circumstances exist that can be added to a murder charge. In Julian's case, Glory Days died with smoke in her lungs because of the fire set in her apartment by the murderer. As shown in The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3, in LA County, a defendant charged with first-degree murder becomes ineligible for bail when a special circumstance is tacked onto the charge. According to the county's 2024 felony bail schedule, all other murders have a bail amount of $2 million, which can be argued higher or lower depending on the circumstances. However, it's important to note that bail amounts differ between counties and states. 6. The prosecution must turn over evidence to the defense. Mickey Haller complains that the prosecution didn't turn over evidence. Manuel Garcia-Rulfo as Mickey looking sad in a courtroom in The Lincoln Lawyer. During The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3, Mickey complains to the judge that he hasn't received pieces of evidence like the autopsy report or the hotel surveillance. In the former case, William Forsythe, the prosecutor, says that they just received the document themselves. In the latter case, he tries to deny having seen it, even though his investigator had the evidence. These interactions allude to one part of the law that The Lincoln Lawyer gets correct. Except for theories and strategies, called work product, the prosecution is required by law to turn over all evidence to the defense with enough time for them to review it and incorporate it into their defense, ensuring a fair trial. In contrast, reciprocal discovery rules vary across different jurisdictions. In California, the defense is required to provide the prosecution with the following, via NOLA. These rules are part of the reason why Mickey didn't want the court to know that he had the surveillance video. If he'd failed to share the evidence, it could negatively impact Julian's case, but if the prosecution didn't turn it over, it could positively impact the case. 5. Judges' biases can influence their court cases. Mickey's team uses judges' biases to achieve the outcome that they want. Along with pointing out flaws in the policing system, The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3 also points out that judges aren't actually impartial. Lorna knows about her judge's background working on ADA compliance, and she uses this to her advantage in the Sam Scale case. Mickey also realizes how good of a position he's in because Judge Regina Turner used to work as a public defender, pointing to a softer implicit bias toward defendants. The Lincoln Lawyer gets this aspect of the law correct. Whether judges want to admit it or not, they are not impartial, no matter how hard they try. The fact is that judges are human beings with the same implicit and explicit biases as everyone else. A good judge will try to confront their biases to make themselves as neutral as possible. California also provides mandatory bias training, which might help decrease bias in the courtroom. Unfortunately, judges may believe that they are better at putting aside biases than they actually are, as overconfidence is a flaw of the human condition. Ultimately, people aren't machines, so there's no way to guarantee impartiality. 4. Court cases move extremely slowly, especially for felony charges like murder. Julian stays in jail for 9 months between his arraignment and trial. Julian looking terrified in The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3. After the arraignment, Mickey reveals to Julian that the waiting time until the trial will be around 8 months. The Lincoln Lawyer Season 3 timeline confirms that the case took 9 months to go to trial. The idea that trials occur quickly is one of the biggest misconceptions caused by legal dramas, and The Lincoln Lawyer is correct in that murder trials across the United States can take months to years from the arraignment to start. However, there is one small part of this picture that they get incorrect or brush over. In the state of California, defendants have a much shorter waiting period than they would elsewhere, as there are limits for the amount of time in each stage leading up to the trial pursuant to Section 138 of the California Penal Code. A defendant must have their arraignment within 48 hours of arrest, and a preliminary hearing generally must occur within 10 days of the arraignment. The prosecution then has 15 days to submit information. The trial then must start in the 60 days after a defendant is arraigned on information unless they waive their right to a speedy trial. All things considered, the shortest period of time that Julian would have had to stay in jail is around 3 months, but it seems likely that Mickey got him to waive his right to a speedy trial to ensure thorough preparation for the murder trial.